Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We decided to organize Repat Armenia's integration event. So we do organize, last year we organized actually 32 integration events, different formats. This one will be about doing business in Armenia, do's and don'ts, with particular focus on how it is done by repats, expats, and diaspora Armenians. So most probably we won't be talking too much about how to register a company or what is a taxation regime. We'll try to concentrate more on insights based on the experience of 3 organizations here, like 4 organizations, including Repat Armenia. What are the typical challenges that diaspora and repat expat businesses meet when they do business in Armenia, as well as what are the opportunities. So we have a very interesting panel of experts today. 3 out of 4 here are repatriates. Harai is from Lebanon, Haik lived in Russia and Canada, Narin is local, I moved from Moscow. And we will try to make this session as interactive as possible. And as a moderator, I'll try to give an opportunity for you to ask questions as soon as possible. Most probably we'll talk for about 30 minutes and then we'll switch to your questions. But also the most important part will be afterwards. So after 1 hour approximately of talking between each other, but also with the audience, you'll have also a possibility to interact with each other, because meet and greet events are also about networking. Networking is extremely important in Armenia. So last year, as Repat Armenia, we had 850 applicants from Russia, Lebanon, USA, Canada, Iran, France. And if you look at the requirements or what they were looking for, inquiries, then 38% were looking for employment. Approximately 25% were looking for legal support in different aspects. And we know that the integration center will be open this year, and we hope that most of that job will go to the integration center. Finally, we'll have a public institution which will be one-stop shop or will work as a one window for all repats. And we'll be able to dedicate ourselves more to other aspects. But around 15% were about networking and social networking, and 12% were about doing business and banking. So let me start by introducing our speakers today. Haik Markaryan is the CEO of the National Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship under the Ministry of Economy. With Narin Eterjan, she's Executive Director of Aris Business Incubator, and Harai Barsumyan, a Managing Partner of Optimized Consulting. So, doing business in Armenia, as anything which relates to diaspora, is a combination of emotional and rational things, subjective and objective things. So let's try to figure it out, and let's try to understand where are objective problems and where are subjective problems, as well as what are the optimal solutions. So let me start with asking Harai. So what are the strong sides of diaspora repat on businesses based on your experience? And what is the value added for the economic development of Armenia? And also, I would like you briefly introduce yourself as well. So where have you moved from and what you're doing in Armenia?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you, Vartan, and thanks Repat Armenia for the opportunity. And thanks to my colleagues who are also participating in this panel. Briefly, I would like to say that I come originally from Lebanon. I have moved after years of planning over and over again. I have moved in 2018. And since then, I have been involved in the business environment in Armenia. I have been involved on the investment side, on the consulting side. So mainly, I have been exposed to the whole economy as a sector. And individually speaking, I have been involved in various different industries. If we would like to speak in a simple language, putting things straight where they are, one of the key challenges, I'd start with the challenge and then to move to the strengths of the diaspora and businesses. One of the key challenges is the fact that usually, as you said, most of the times doing business in Armenia is being triggered through emotions. So most of the diasporans or the repats or potential repats are acting triggered by their emotions into doing business in the homeland. But what we need to understand is that Armenia is a country just like any other country, with its good and bad sides of the economy, of the industry, of the ethical side of the industry, on all aspects. So once as a diasporan you identify that problem, let's put it this way, in you, everything is much easier. I have been through that personally, because initially for me it was, okay, I'm getting repatriated, so things should be easy for me. I mean, everything should be given, ready, served on a plate. But that's not the case. On the other hand, what we should focus on is the fact that we have to move and capitalize on our strengths. Most of us, I mean, the diasporans who have lived outside, and allow me to say that that's not only the case of diasporans, usually even the locals that have been exposed to the foreign countries and have worked in multicultural environments, they always bring back that strength with them, because when you're working in multicultural environments, you start reaping the rewards of collective knowledge and you start building on it. So mostly one of the key strengths I would highlight in the diasporan-owned businesses that are operating fairly and doing good in Armenia is the fact that on the communication side, the service side, there resides the strength. We may end up doing the same business, but since we have been exposed to different cultures, in terms of communicating, selling our products, selling our ideas, presumably, our trying to switch them into the business works better because we are more flexible. I would highlight on the flexibility. At the same time, being exposed to the foreign world, which is a much bigger market than Armenia itself, allows you to have more knowledge in terms of techniques, in terms of experience, in terms of additional methodologies. But then again, you have to adapt all these that you have into the Armenian market. You cannot just simply come and say, hey guys, I'm here, what's in it for me? So I start with the challenge, switch it into a positive, and accordingly act on it.
Okay. Thank you, Right. Let's move to the second question, which will be to Narine. So you worked with many businesses, including local businesses. So based on your experience as Iris Incubator, and please also introduce yourself and a bit about Iris Incubator. So which are the industries where diasporans, repatriates manage to have the biggest impact from your point of view? And so that's the question. And how did they manage to change the business environment from your point of view?
Thank you for the invitation, and it's nice to be here and see all of you joining our today's discussion. Vartan mentioned that I'm a local, but with an expat experience, so I have kind of the knowledge of both sides. So I came back to Armenia in 2013, and that was a well-thought choice to be here and to live here. And in 2019, I joined Iris Business Incubator as the executive director. This was a very new organization here in Armenia, the first incubator, to say so, that supports startups and SMEs and entrepreneurs in traditional sectors, not in high tech. And one of our strategic objectives is also towards economic integration, and that is why we've been always working with a lot of migrants, refugees, repatriates, and a lot of these target groups were benefiting from our programs. Coming to the question about where is the biggest impact, I will go a bit back maybe. And say that the first people who impacted really were the repats who came back to Armenia in mid-90s and early 2000s. These were the time where when a lot of locals were leaving the country, but there were brave Repats who came and they showed that actually it is possible to do business in Armenia. And they affected the construction industry, the hospitality industry. We have very prominent examples. And then the next phase was after the Syrian crisis. After the Syrian war, we had a big influx of Syrian Armenian refugees. And after that, also a lot of Lebanese Armenians and Iranian Armenians came to Armenia. And I think they really changed the business environment here in terms of food and restaurant business, services, communication in general within the business, like was already mentioned. The business culture, the business environment itself became much more diversified here in Armenia. And the last point is the most recent developments with the Russia and Ukraine war. This was again about an influx of Russians, Ukrainians, and also a lot of Armenians who were living in these countries. And this again really changed, I think, the business environment in the sense that both the supply and demand sides were changed. So we have a lot of expats and repats joining top levels in big companies like in financial services, in IT sector, but also the demand side was changed because the tourism and hospitality sectors, again, food and restaurants, they had a huge demand and they had to modify their work. So all of this, I think, affected in a very positive way to our business environment.
Thank you, Narina. Finally, we'll come to the government. Well, everyone talks about IT, and it looks like the government provides assistance mostly to IT companies, but that's the impression, which is among many repats who come to our office as well, with questions, what shall we do? I mean, are there any priority areas that government thinks should be developed in Armenia? Are there any public programs, grants, funding, special programs, financing, or institutional support? So I would like to ask you that question. So basically, could you tell about yourself and also a little bit about what your organization is doing, as well as answer that question, please?
Hello. Listen. Thank you, Vartan. It's not easy to be the only person from the government on the stage. But I would say that I see few of my colleagues, just for your information, from the government. So I'm not the only one here in the audience, and I just would want to thank Vartan for the invitation. And I would want to also announce that we are finally signing the agreement of partnership with Repat Armenia, and Vartan kindly agreed with the integration center of the High Commissioner's Office of Diaspora to provide us some space for one of our colleagues in their building, so that there is going to be more simplified and one window approach for repatriants who would want to get information from governmental agencies as well. Me, as a ex-businessman from Diaspora who moved to Armenia, and the initial kind of goal before moving to the governmental agency was to start a business in Armenia with my brother. And then we realized after some efforts that there are many lacks. And then when I was invited to join Ministry of Economy, and there was an opportunity to give some offers to the Prime Minister about the center, the National Center for the Innovation and Entrepreneurship. One of the focuses was to create a unified online and offline business support office, one-stop shop, which is unfortunately not developed in the post-Soviet countries, but we have great experiences from the developed countries, and we wanted to bring this experience in Armenia. But as Vartan mentioned, there is a big focus on developing IT, and one of our, actually not one, the biggest priority of our center was and is at this point is a science-based technological companies, not just software, but where you have some scientific component. And it is called the International Technology Transfer Office, which again is not developed. These types of offices were not developed in the post-Soviet countries. And me, as a person from diaspora, I have faced working with these types of people who are experts in technology transfer. And the few initial directions in my center were to build technology transfer office, which will connect science with business. Again, business, we need to give information to scientists that you can earn money from your inventions, not that you are only employed by some scientific institutions, but you can commercialize your inventions. And there is a great practice in the world. I'm just returning from Texas in the United States, where we met heads of different technology transfer offices in the world. And I would say that in most developed countries, as you know, scientists, they are quite rich people, because there are some mechanisms, governmental and after private mechanisms, pipelines, how you can earn money from your inventions. And the other direction was online and offline multifunctional business support platform with a focus on SMEs. As many of you know, Armenia is in the top 10 countries by the ease of registering business. But as Vartan mentioned, we're not going to talk about registration, because registration of the businesses is the first step. And as we see in Armenia, per capita, Armenia has the highest number of SMEs registered in the world. Can you imagine? Again, because it is very easy to register a company.
And difficult to close.
Yes, and difficult to close. And again, one of the highest numbers to, unfortunately, to not continue the businesses. Why? It is very easy to register a company. It takes like half an hour in our building. Please come. But many people, especially from abroad, they are just not aware what support mechanisms from the government there are for their businesses. That's why, because of the lack of information and coordination, many of them, they come to a point that they cannot proceed. And that's why we opened in a pilot mode, kind of a one-stop shop, one window for businesses. And only last year, and not only from post-Soviet countries, only last year more than 1,000 entrepreneurs got some service from that one window, and we had some great success stories.
Could you specify what type of support do you provide? Just very briefly.
Yes, briefly, it's just key, free information, what type of governmental support programs you can get for your type of business, one. Second, if you need coordination and simplification from a governmental authority to make connections with right people in the government or in the private sector, because many of us who come from diaspora, we do not know where to go. And they come to us and we shorten their way. And three, we have our own program. It's a new governmental program. I would want just briefly mention about it, again, for businesses. And the goal of the program is to higher the productivity of the companies. Again, it is related to diaspora and not only Armenians. It's a reimbursement program of the salaries, up to 70% of the salaries, for highly qualified experts who would want to come and work in Armenia in the private sector at this point. It's like e-course. Maybe many of you have heard
for 3
about
years,
e-course.
right?
Yep.
For 3 years.
For 3 years. We reimburse up to 2 million drams per month for any type of the businesses if you employ people from abroad to join your business.
Well, based on criteria.
Based on some criteria, you can just please, you can take a look at our website, and it's very active.
If we switch from the government to this incubator from another private sources, so what other type of support programs do exist at the moment? In which areas? So based on your experience, could you please share that information?
Sure. In the end of last year, we did a very interesting research about the business environment in Armenia in general, and within this we did also a mapping both of government programs, non-government programs, anything which is available for entrepreneurs in the market. And actually there is a lot. There are so many opportunities for startups, not only in IT sector, not only in high-tech science engineering, but also in traditional sectors. So that if you're aware, if you're following the pages, if you're following the news, then you can get this support. And one of them is Iris Business Incubator, which I represent. And right now we have a program for returning migrants and their family members. So we provide a full cycle of business incubation services to them, which includes trainings, mentorship, coaching, access to network, access to connections and markets. And by the end of the program, the most successful ones, after pitching their ideas, they can qualify for matching grants. So you invest a certain amount and you get the same amount as a grant. And there are also many other programs available in the country. Just I can mention some of them. If somebody is interested to start a business, just explore and check their pages, their website. Mostly, many of the organizations provide targeted support, like support to women, to youth, to social entrepreneurs. Sometimes it's sectoral, like for tourism, for agriculture, for IT. Mostly follow, you can follow Impact Hub if you're interested in social businesses. BizUp Forum, it's an annual event which again you can participate and get both mentorship, coaching and access to finance. There is Armenian Startup Academy and EIF, and Enterprise Incubator Foundation. They are mostly for those entrepreneurs who are interested in IT sector. The FAST Foundation does many projects. There are a lot of NGOs who support traditional businesses, starting from AGBU, World Vision, Jinishan Memorial Foundation, many. Follow their pages and follow the news during the year. Both we, also at Iris Business Incubator, we have several announcements per year for a call for application. And all of these organizations and programs that I mentioned, they also have their calls for applications that you just need to apply either with your business idea or with your already operating business, depending on whether it's an incubation program or an acceleration program that is being offered.
Do you have questions? I just want to see if there are questions in the audience. Okay. Yeah, please. Please introduce yourself and question if you want to ask it to particular panelists.
Yes, my name is Alexandra. I'm from Russia, and I'm going to start actually a non-commercial initiative. And that's why I would like to ask if the support is possible from the side of games. And this year, and the Iris for non-commercial initiatives, because we would like to work both with some IT products and processes that will help optimize different spheres of economic activities, but we are not going to be a classical business. So
okay.
Could we apply for some support program mentorship?
Let's go on.
Yes, thank you so much. Definitely, we do not divide if it's commercial or non-commercial. Please come to our office. We will just give you all the information, what types of support we have. One of those I mentioned, our own program, the reimbursement program, or just we can introduce you if you need with some partners, if you need in Armenia or abroad.
We at IRIS, we work only with for-profit entities or private entrepreneurs. So in case if you want to register either an NGO or a foundation, that unfortunately you cannot benefit from our programs.
But you can benefit from us.
Yes.
We can help you with networking, connecting you with the people who initiated similar things, who have an experience, and also to introduce you to several reliable partners in different fields that you need. Just feel free to come to Repat Armenia's office. We also work with Panayecheli category of people.
Hi, good evening. I'm Charles Mallas. I work at the Ministry of Economy, advisor to the Minister of Economy, working on the dry port project in Germany. The support that you mentioned and you talked about, is this extendable to companies who would like to work in or establish their companies in economic free zones?
You see, hello. You see, I was saying that I'm not alone here. Advisor to the minister is here with me. So, yes, Mr. Charles, it is included also for companies which are registered in the free zones around our program. I'm not sure about Iris.
We don't distinguish. If they are registered as for-profit entities, then they can benefit from our programs.
Yeah, just next. Izudegor's task.
Good evening, my name is Baraj Sanis, Ministry of Economy, Government.
It looks like a government.
In addition to Haid's comments about the fundings for ICT sector, the Ministry of Economy is funding majority of the fund for subsidiaries of the program, those to not the IT sector, just to let you know, so don't feel left out. Agriculture is in the top priority of the government plan of 21 to 26. So far, we have 5 years of strategic planning, which agri-tech sits on the top of it. So you're welcome to invest in agri-tech. Thank you.
Thank you. More questions? Yeah, more government people. I'm glad we actually were facilitating government bodies dialogue
We also
through
need
Repat.
we also need coordination. Believe me.
Right. Questions over here.
My name is Hasmik. I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I am actually one of the participants of the program you just mentioned. It is at the very early stage. We have just begun the program, but if anybody wants to find out more, because there is Repat, expat, migrants, everything that runs coming back to Armenia. If you guys have any questions with regards to maybe is it worth participating, what my experience so far is, I'll be happy to give my opinion.
Okay, but let's try to ask questions. It's good. The second comment so far. Yeah, there's a question over there. Please challenge the panelists.
Yes.
Hello everyone, Armenian software engineer, PhD from Germany. I would like to direct my question to Sefak Makarjan. As far as I know, there are no regulations or intervention in Armenia to establish large-scale data centers to store and handle informatics. And I'm explicitly asking in this field because I believe if I compare this specific point to Germany, despite all the regulations, Germany is currently, for the past 5 or 6 years, the country has been literally suffering from evaluation and there's the main poverty still. And I really believe Armenia has a golden opportunity here. So the government has an intention to establish such a data center or even regulate the delay. So any information would be much appreciated.
Ara, you're not the first person I was talking with about this problem, and the Minister of High Tech, as much information as I have, they are in charge of that, and there were discussions in the government to do it as soon as possible. And there are some procedures, unfortunately, which needed to be implemented to to move forward, but to my information, again, it's under the domain of the High Tech Ministry, that there are intentions to build.
Yeah, it's over there. Microphone.
Yes, hello, my name is Yerevan. My question is to Mr. Bidai. What is the acceptance of the Armenian market for consulting company? Because I feel that Armenians don't really like to receive advices for it. So
We give advices. We give advices.
But the consulting companies are
Low
willing.
I really like the question. I'll answer with a joke. There's a real joke about consultants that says consultants are those that usually come out, they borrow your own watch just to tell you what time it is, and then they keep your own watch with them. So at some point, people are right, because usually if you make use of it and you overuse your strength in the market, people are gonna hesitate to contact. But at the same time, we have that problem. All of us have that problem. If we come into a restaurant and say, hey, this pizza, can we change it? Chigareli. So that chigareli is one of our enemies in the market. But currently, it is being developed further. Mainly, let me put it in this regards. If mainly you challenge them or the client in his or her product, then they're hesitant. But usually they come asking for financial advice rather than strategic advice. But the thing is, you cannot separate these two. So mainly the starting point is wrong. What we are initially trying to do is that we're trying, I wouldn't say educate people, but to enhance the cultural acceptance of seeking advice. And here it's not only about seeking business consultants' advice or not. At the same time, all of us have gone through business experiences where, if we think about it for once, we have asked our accountants to prepare a contract draft for us because it's too easy. But then, after some time, it shows up that the contract had legal problems. So there's no problem in asking the legal advice of legal counsel, because it saves you time, it saves you money, and usually when you put it into that perspective, explaining that not seeking advice costs you money, then you are accepted. So it is a challenge. At the same time, what we are trying to do with Repat, I would also like to mention that fact too. We are trying to open the opportunity even for Repats, in this case, to have general free consulting sessions, because the key here is to try to navigate in that sea, and that's what we are all trying to do. Some advice would not hurt the consultant if he's giving it for free, and then at the same time it would not hurt the recipient if they are asking for advice. But I really like the question, so I'll be happy to give you free advice anytime you want.
Right. So, more questions, so you'll give me the right to ask a question. Okay, the question is over there.
Oh, okay.
Karin.
Hi, my name is Karin. I'm from several different countries. Keep it short. Regarding the do's and don'ts, I don't know if I've missed it, but what would be your individual response to the don'ts? Just as an absolute.
That was my question.
Cool. And secondly, sorry, that's just part. Where could one read about the criteria to know if we would be suitable to apply or not, to set up the phenomena as a Repat? Thank you.
Nobody wants to talk about don'ts?
So in terms of the don'ts, what I would say, I would answer it this way to try to put it into the positive environment. So I'd say it in do's, but then the contrary of it becomes the don'ts. So whenever you want to set up a business, don't ever, I mean, most of the times people challenge me for this thought, but I'd insist on it. Don't ever dive into the business world without doing all your research and based only on your instincts and based on your emotions or based on your ideas. Because the ideas you have, they might be viable or not. So market research is often neglected, specifically in Armenia. And that's a big problem because usually we say that, okay, we are a small market, all of us know each other and we can find out anything we want and we can do the learning process. But if you haven't done your market research well before setting up your company, you may face many problems. So one of the first don't, I would start with that. Never dive into the business environment without doing the correct market research. The second thing is about your business planning. It's true, most people view business plans as the mandatory documents that you need to have if you are applying for a program, or if you are applying for a grant, or even if you are trying to apply for a loan at the bank. But that's your business Bible. And if you don't have your business plan, you're simply wearing blindfolds and trying to operate in the business. The third thing, financial viability. I mean, many of us have gone into starting businesses like HighSec because it's really easy to open a business in Armenia. It takes 10 minutes if there's no traffic, and you just open your business and it's free if it's an LLC. But then you need to wait 3-4 years of inactivity so you can close the company without having any hassles. Financial viability is very important. Most of us, I mean, I would really stress on the fact of the don't, is that don't ever start your business by saying, okay, to do my business in the agro sector, tourism, IT, whatever, my startup investment is, for example, 100K, and that's what I need. Because that's not what you need. Because you have to know, based on your market research, that throughout the timing of your business will definitely go into a ramp-up phase. It will not directly become profitable and surpass the break-even point. So what you need is to really study and analyze the amount of finances you need after your startup investment, because the whole package is what quantity of amount you need to be able to survive in the market. Because we have had many brilliant ideas that failed, not because the ideas weren't viable, but because the owners couldn't manage their cash, couldn't manage their business until they reach the break-even points. Fourth, I'm sorry I'm taking much time, Bartan. Fourth, one of the main problems that we have in Armenia, and I can allow myself to speak about it because I have been working day and night in the business field for 5 years, only in Armenia, not mentioning the foreign experience. What we lack is our ability to package our products, to package our businesses. Many of us have brilliant ideas, brilliant products, but we don't know how to sell it because we lack the flexibility. We don't know how to approach the market, how to approach the clientele. And there comes the role of sales teams, marketing teams, etc. We often neglect all these important items or added advantages of having a good team to operate. And finally, I have to say it, I'm a consultant at the end. Finally, never be afraid of seeking advice. I mean, don't stay away from advices, whether it's for accounting, legal, marketing, sales. I mean, I'm not into legal advice, but I would definitely say that whenever you do operate in the business field, you have to know all your legal risks. So just seek for advice in that concern. So all these interconnected are the don'ts for me in the business. I'm not saying that these are separate from the outside world, and there are not much problems out there also, but being a small market makes you work harder because you have a small market where you can operate. So if you have problems in your finances, in your sales, in your marketing, in your working capital management, etc., then you will necessarily drown. So be careful of all those don'ts. I'm sorry if I talked too much about the don'ts. We'll maybe talk about the do's later on a bit. And for the program, I'll pass the word to my colleagues because it's up to them to explain about the applicability.
Don'ts. Let's talk about don'ts.
And just briefly, I would say what I have experienced with many business people, what my colleague said about research. Many of new business people from abroad are coming to Armenia and trying to start a business without proper research, and then they face some hurdles, and finally then they come to us or to other organizations and they say, we didn't know that there are these mechanisms, or we didn't know that we could have acted differently. And then we spent a lot of more energy to try to change these problems, and or even invest in certain areas without making proper research, or even without making research about governmental support programs and not spending your own money, because government gives you money for, let's say, agriculture agriculture direction. As Varej mentioned, there are lots of agriculture support programs, and many farmers, they're not aware that there are these types of, and I agree, this is one of our governmental organization problems, that we need to raise awareness about these programs. That's what we started. And plus, I would say that there are many ways to get free or with a low prices services for your businesses. Let's say come to some governmental organizations, to us, and we give you just basic information about taxation, accounting, coordination. Many people, they come, they spend lots of money, and to some accounting and legal organizations, lots of money, or even marketing, website design. There are tools, you can do it very easily. So don't start anything without, as my colleague mentioned, and I'm stealing your business a little bit here. There are many opportunities, but research and then start, because after even registering proper legal entity, they register not proper one, then they apply for subsidy or any other program, and then they realize that they should have registered, let's say, not LLC or something else, and it's very difficult to change after.
So my biggest do is be ambitious, which translates into don't be afraid of growth. Why I'm highlighting this? Because from our experience and in general in Armenia, we see a lot of small businesses which they are like operating okay. So they do their business, they have some revenues, but when you ask them, there is a lot of potential. Why you are just doing this small circle? They're kind of either the lack of knowledge or being afraid, losing control. Everything hampers them from growth. So the biggest advice is be ambitious. And here comes another don't, and don't try to do everything by yourself. When you grow, you need to learn how to hire, you need to learn how to delegate, you need to learn how to outsource. And this is really possible. This is possible to learn, this is possible to do. And this is the way, if you're a businessman, if you really want to do a business, then this should be your path, and not just, I'm okay with this. That's not a real business.
Can I add one more thing to continue what my colleague said? Yes, please don't give up from my experience. This is the main thing, and don't take personal. In Armenia, we have very small personal borders, and sometimes you can take some things very personally, but don't take it too personal. Don't give up and continue. Also, don't focus on the only local market or broadly international.
May I also mention several tips or insights based on 10 years of experience working with Repat Armenia with many people. In the airplane, when you hear the instructions, put the mask on you and then on the child, right? So here is the same. You need to become successful first, then think about the impact on the country's development. Please divide business and benevolent. So the emotional part is very important to manage. Second, start small. Never start big.
Yes.
Start and test yourself on small scale. Third, don't transfer your knowledge, skills, and understanding of business from one place to another place, and don't think that it will work the same way. If you're coming from Syria, it's one thing, from Lebanon, it's another thing, from Russia, it's a third thing. You really need to adapt to understand how it works. The fourth, there are certain areas where fraud or mismanagement or different type of issues take place, and not only in Armenia. For example, in real estate sector. Don't trust people just because they promised you something and said something. If you are planning to rent a space and renovate it, make sure you have a legal contract and all those expenses are fixed. So you should treat Armenia as any other country where you would go and invest. Just forget about Ararat and other things which you see, forget about food. Just concentrate on becoming successful. Don't help those people to cheat on you, and based on that, to cheat on others and on each other as well. Unfortunately, I know many cases, not many, but I know cases when diasporans have problems with diasporans in Armenia as well. So it's not only the problem between diasporans and Ayastansis. Let's be frank on this as well, right? Because we tend to talk about trust issues, etc., but it exists among diasporans as well. And the final one is really, it's a marathon. So small market, try to understand where your competitive advantages are outside of the country. That's why you have competitive advantage in Armenia. So if you are trying to do something which an ordinary citizen can do, why should you do it here? I mean, do it somewhere else, right? So you need to use what you have as an advantage. It's network, it's knowledge of external market, and many other things. And also, don't underestimate the importance of staffing issues. Staff is a big challenge. Team management, staff, especially if you are planning to have a passive investment in Armenia, is very difficult to do. You really need to be here. You really need, especially in the first phase, you really need to invest your time, not just money, in order for your enterprise or business become successful. So that would be tips from me. Questions? Here.
Firstly, thank you, Vartan and Repat Armenia for this initiative, and of course the panelists for the valuable time. My question's about regional Armenia.
Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry, yeah, my name is Shahin Simonyan. I'm a Repat from Australia. I've been here for 3 years. My question is about regional Armenia and whether the government and other organisations have an appetite to supercharge the support for things that are outside of Yerevan, maybe even outside of Repat, and how that might play out for people who are interested.
Thank you. From a perspective of my organization, we are based on the 5-year governmental program, where we're in charge of regional development of women entrepreneurship. And we're starting the courses for women in the region who would want to become entrepreneurs. This is one, and also our organization has 4 divisions in different cities of Armenia. There we're doing pitching sessions for young entrepreneurs. Last time we did in Gyumri, and many young bright people came, and we invited international investors to listen to them and give them some mentoring support and some financial support. Also, it was very happy to see that that participants of the 2020 war, they did not give up, even though they had some health problems, and they were trying to open their businesses. And specifically for them, we did a separate program and introduced them with international investors to support their program. and of course connect with our own programs in the regions.
Questions over there, right?
I can say from Irish point of view, most of our resident entrepreneurs are from regions. More than 65% are from different regions outside of Yerevan. And we usually provide equal opportunities for the regions. And even in some programs, it's only for regional businesses. But we see that some regions are very active, some regions are not that active. Even with the similar opportunities, they don't grasp it. For example, we always see that Lori, Davos, Sunik, they are the most active everywhere, Shirak. And when it comes to Vajoctor, I really cannot understand why it doesn't move, but that's the reality. But the opportunities are there, and also both government and non-government programs target the regions.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Payar. I'm an expat, not a repat. I'm not Armenian, and I'm following most of the don'ts that have been named so far. We set up an initiative called Sowing Hope for Armenia. It's entirely on emotion following the November 2020 war, which employs only women and refugees from Artsakh. And I wanted to address the panel to see what incentives exist for companies. We are a for-profit organization. We didn't set up as a charity because we wanted these people to become part of society again and not recipients of charity. What incentives exist for companies like us who employ vulnerable members of the population to help them reinsert into the society?
I'm sorry, just a question. You mentioned that you are an expat, right?
Yes.
So I'm sorry from everyone. On my behalf, I would like to salute you for the flag that you have on your blazer. That's as a start. I salute you for that. Yeah, I salute you for that. Second of all, I would like to mention that I'm not a governmental agency and I'm on the consulting side, but I have been involved with such programs, mainly in trainings and etc. And I think that even people like us who are not on the grant side, on the program side, we have to be involved also. So I would be more than pleased if you can later on explain further. And in terms of trainings, if I can provide trainings for your staff in terms of business trainings and skills enhancement trainings, I would be more than pleased to do that. And I salute you for your work that you are doing.
I think it was against the principle of not in Oslo, but in a positive way.
Thank you, Nicholas. I know Nicholas, don't believe him. He is more Armenian than many of us with me. Because what he's doing for Armenia and people like him, not Armenians, but Armenians by heart. I have one person working with me from Australia, and he calls himself Petros, but his name is Peter. And many of people like you are doing for Armenian and many of us here. And as you mentioned, we are for-profit organization, and this is good example of, as Vartan said, when you come to Armenia, many people from diaspora, they think we need to come and support, but don't just come and support, make investment, earn money, and this will help to boost and trigger the business ecosystem in Armenia. And as for women, Nicholas, as I mentioned, our program of support women entrepreneurs in the region, vulnerable, just to teach them basic, let's say, marketing or digital skills, so that they know that even if they have many children in the region and they don't have the ability to spend much time at work, still they can earn quite much money from home. Yeah.
Right now we have a program which addresses the needs of the people who were either displaced or affected by the 44-day war in 2020. This is implemented together with the Armenian Caritas, one of our founding organizations, and anyone can apply, and they will get this full cycle of business support services, which is participation in our IRIS Academy, coaching, mentorship, access to our network and community. The first call for applications is already closed, but in June, July, we will have the second round.
We are happy also to utilize our Armenian Repatriates network, which has more than 12,000 members, and also can use our website. We can develop content so that more people are aware of your initiative and can join in a different way.
I would just add that with Invaluable Foundation, we do this program to support wounded soldiers with their business initiatives and help to connect with investors.
Let's have 1-2 questions and then switch to informal part of it. 1-2, okay.
Thank you for organization and one more needed great event. My name is Repat Armenia. I'm relocated to Armenia almost 1 year ago, and I'm very grateful to Armenia and Armenians. I'm from
Where you from?
I'm from Russia, yeah. And I'm launching my own startup. It's educational startup, and it would be for profit organization. But one of the strategic goals is to help to connect and integrate different nations of cultures who are living now in Armenia, because I see the problem now that society is very separated. Armenian within themselves are very separated. Russians are very separated from interacting with Armenians. Indians and other nations and cultures are very separated. So I help solve this problem through the education process. So I want to make my product accessible to the local people, because now I see my model is quite a bit more accessible for the local people. And I'm interested in any programs or like supporting from not only from government side, but from maybe non-commercial side and so on. And I'm open to a conversation with anyone who is here and who is interested in like visual cooperation and social benefits for Armenia. Thank you.
We are interested at least, that's for sure. Yeah, the last question, and let's go to the mix and mingle part.
Thank you very much. Interesting meeting. My name is Gabriel Grigorian. I'm introducing Medu educational platform in Armenia. And I have a question to Mr. Markanyan and Mr. Zen. Does your organizations interested in projects or business ideas which are designed to vector market in Armenia and developed in Armenia, considering the fact that it will have an influence of development of healthcare sector for Armenia? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kevork. There was this digital health initiative, and Professor Georgi recently he presented his vision, and we did together with High Tech Ministry the Nerush program half a year ago approximately, which was connected to diaspora startups, and many of them were from health tech, and actually two winners of the three were from health tech from abroad. So there is a big focus, and 2 years ago there was Entrepreneurship World Cup in Armenia, again health tech science organization they won, and they were among the 25 best organizations, startups in the world in the Worldwide Entrepreneurship World Cup. So as Varej mentioned, the priorities of the government, health definitely is the priority. Our role is to connect the dots. So, and as previous person mentioned, we would be more than happy. Sometimes people come to us, they have a product, and they don't develop. Why? Because they are not connected with proper people, and we connect them. Let's say just recently from India, international business people came with 4 projects, one of which is health, pharma industry, and we connected them with pharma producers in Armenia because they don't know, and the work continued. So we have big database of governmental and non-governmental organizations and people and business people which are interested in partnership with international organizations. So let's collaborate together.
Okay, so question? One more question?
Yes, I don't.
I think so. Have we answered the question?
Comments without I don't ask question.
Chairman, Nahort, Speaker of Closets.
We are in touch with Aita, and she's doing great job.
So I think that's it. I would like to thank our panelists for joining us, HBU for hosting us here, everyone for joining us today, and please enjoy cookies prepared by Syrian Armenians. Have a tea, coffee, and let's continue our conversation. Just a second.
Just if we have the chance for closing remarks.
Yeah, sure. Closing remarks?
Yeah, just...
Yeah.
I would like to first, because I would like to thank you for the opportunity. What I would like to say is this: mainly, lately, the Armenian market has been towards the promotion and strengthening of the startup sector and the IT sectors. But at the same time, I would like to send a message to all the participants and potentially repats and expats and people who are not involved in IT sector. It's not necessary to be involved in the IT sector to have successes in Armenia, because on a national security level also we need to have all types of businesses running and doing well. So I believe that anybody in here who has any sort of project that he or she believes in, all that the project needs is fine-tuning, studying, analyzing, and launching into the market. And we need to strengthen the SME sector in Armenia, because eventually, if we need to access foreign funds and people investing in Armenia, we need to have products. I know many people, mainly repats, who have been discussing the main concern is the fact that people are afraid that they are not going to be the next unicorn. And that idea is a dream killer, because you don't need to work to be a unicorn to be successful. So if any one of you has ideas and businesses that needs to work on and they want to succeed in it, just believe in your idea, but be prepared for it. I'm not speaking on an emotional level here. Armenia is the type of market where if you have persistence and if you love your job and if you work until the end, you will definitely reach your goals. So just chase your goals and do it, whether it's IT or not. Mainly, people talk a lot about IT. That's why I wanted to mention many people are not in that sphere and they still have dreams. So just chase them, and I'm sure you can make them come true. If you have persistence, you will reach sustainability. So good luck to everyone, and thank you for the panel.
I would also say a few words. Thank you, Vartan. And as my colleague mentioned, it's not only about IT. Unfortunately, world is not aware about what high quality Armenian products we have, and entrepreneurs, companies, and just production, high quality production. When I talk with international organizations, they just say, we're not aware of what is happening in Armenia. And one of our goals is to show them high quality and to promote Armenian products, but it needs to be done systematically and institutionally. And one more thing, that in the West, there is a culture to do business together, then become friends. Here, we're becoming friends, we're networking, then we do business together. So let's go network.
This is really correct that we as a country are very bad marketers, so we don't really show what we have to the world in terms of products and in terms of services and in terms of just as a country, we're not profiling us the way we should be. We haven't been, but I hope that in the future we will do a better job on this. And as a closing remark, I will be very happy if at least some of you who are present today after this discussion decide to start some entrepreneurship initiative. And as you see, there are a lot of both government and non-government support initiatives that will help you on your way, starting from doing the right research and up to how to run the business successfully. So I encourage you, if you have good ideas, just to start thinking really seriously about it.
Thank you, everyone, and let's move to the next step.